Welcome, or rather welcome back. I am Coriander Stone, and today I'm going to be giving you the second installment of my RWBY opening analysis videos. This time, I bring you an analysis of RWBY's second opening, Time to Say Goodbye.
There's a point where it tips, there's a point where it breaks, there's a point where it bends, and a point we just can't take anymore.
The opening begins with clouds parting to reveal us making our descent toward Beacon Academy. It's an image very reminiscent of how RWBY first saw Beacon through the clouds of the airship, meant to bring us back to her worldview and to the series. The idea of focusing on RWBY is further enforced by the first thing we see being the red rose petals, signifying that RWBY is at the center not only of the story but also of the OP. The buildings start to flash as we get closer in, white shining out from between the normal pillars, and we see RWBY standing seemingly alone. RWBY's eyes open behind the screen, her silver eyes. The silver-eyed huntress imagery has started almost immediately, white flashes, of course, representing what happens when those eyes open, as they do. The eyes fade away to reveal RWBY standing seemingly alone, reflected in the water. Instantly we get the idea that she is behind the eyes, that this solitude is behind her open eyes, and that this reflected duality portends to there being two RWBYs, one perhaps with the eyes open, one with the eyes closed, one who knows what's going on and what the world holds, one who's still her innocent first season self. Going back a sec, I want to talk about something quickly, both with her opening eyes and with the RWBY openings in general. That is that one advantage of RWBY analysis openings over most anime openings is that the language in question is English. Meaning that where you have to rely on translation for most Japanese anime openings, and therefore lose the nuances in those translations, the RWBY openings don't have that issue. And so we can clearly tell that as RWBY's eyes open, the singer, Casey Lee Williams, sings, "And a point we just can't take." Again, flash forward to the end of Season 3, and we see the point we just can't take, the moment when RWBY sees Pyrrha die, and knows that she's too late to save yet another friend, and she can't take it, opening those silver eyes. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, moving right along, the image then shifts and we see that RWBY isn't alone after all. She's standing with all of Team RWBY, and they all have their eyes closed. They're still together, they're still in the now, they're still the young, naive kids that they were from Season 1, because their eyes have not yet been, excuse the metaphor, opened to the darkness of the world. Yet the fact that their eyes aren't yet open, and that they haven't yet become ready to face that world, doesn't stop the world from beginning to dissolve. Again, notice the amounts of silver flame surrounding them. Again, back to the silver eyes part. Once again, as RWBY opens her eyes, the entire landscape is consumed by silver fire. Then all four girls are facing toward Beacon as it dissolves, too late to stop its destruction. With that, the screen goes blank. And of course, we still have that nice little orb in the corner, which may have something to do with Raven because of her semblance, but I really don't know, except for the fact that it shows up in all the openings. I haven't got the foggiest what it could be. So, if you have any ideas or thoughts on that, please let me know down in the comments. I'd be fascinated to hear your theories. That said, the orb serves another purpose in this scene. While it's black on a white background, it is danger, but when it flips around and inverts the colors, it moves the story from a passive phase to an active one. The orb becomes white and glowing, almost like the sun, and out of the sun, RWBY falls. This presents her with a sort of life imagery that sets her up clearly as the hero, who will stop the darkness from coming back. The idea of the team having to fight villains and evil even before they're ready for it, and the fact that they're not going to have a chance to get ready, is a huge theme throughout the season. And at Casey Lee Williams' words, we can't just wait. RWBY opens her eyes and activates her semblance, spewing rose petals and taking on an active role. She spins away to reveal Clockwork's Time and Ozpin. Again, Ozpin is introduced through a set of gears. Gears symbolizing both time and control of time in the form of watches, and also connectivity and putting the pieces together. through, well, their connectivity. This time, however, is a little bit more striking since Ozpin is shown at the very center of the gears. He isn't turning while they are. He's at the center of the clock, the center which doesn't change even though the time turns and the clock's pieces do. This points both toward his immortal, semi-immortal nature, and also, again, back to the fact that he's the only one who has a real clue what's going on. He's the one who's trying to head the resistance. He's the one putting the pieces together and orchestrating that side of the war. Incidentally, as Ruby twists away to reveal the gears in Ozpin, the singer's line is, "with lives at stake," indicating that, well, yes, lives are at stake here, hundreds of lives, thousands, millions of lives, and Ozpin is carrying all of that. The gears also representing how those lives all connect, with Ozpin at the center trying to preserve them all. Having informed us of Ozpin's power, his tower room fades out to reveal Pyrrha. There's a brief moment when the two are in the shot together, placing them back to back and creating a direct line of connection between the time and control of the gears, Ozpin and Pyrrha, going back to his request that she take on the Fall Maiden's role. And even before that Fall Maiden twist is revealed, pointing out that she is in fact going to be connected to Ozpin in some way, that they're going to be on the same side, but in some way facing different directions. She perhaps struggling with what he asks of her as he's at the center of power and she is looking away. And the idea that I'm not just pulling all this out of thin air is seriously reinforced by the fall leaves that are coming from around Pyrrha as she dissolves into focus. Then Ozpin is gone and Pyrrha is left alone with the Fall Maiden's leaves, half dissolved into focus and seemingly unsure, left isolated. The lyrics at this point are "until they think," indicating how caught up Pyrrha is in the expectations people have for her and how she feels like they trap her. Jean reaches out and puts his hand on her shoulder, and instantly she snaps into focus as he connects her back to her friends and to reality. This begins a quick little montage of the other teams. First we have Team Juniper standing outside Beacon, facing away from it as though ready to defend their home as they do at the end of the season. Then there's Team Cardinal standing in the library. They look thuggish and ready to fight, but they're in the library, signifying that they really are just school bullies and aren't powerful on the same levels of any of the antagonists that the teams will have to face for real. Team SSSN stands in front of some unknown buildings, signifying that they aren't locals, but are there to support and help the other main characters anyway. Team Coffee comes striding into where that last fight scene takes place at the end of the season, which is fitting since it is the place of their real introductions. Then we have Ironwood and his military standing outside an airship, all at attention, ready to fight, with the exception of Penny, who looks a bit more relaxed and not quite as much like she's about to start a fight, indicating that she is more than just the fighting machine that she was built to be. Finally, we have the teachers standing together, ready to protect Beacon and the world from the dangers that they know are out there. And with the words "enemies are gathering," we switch to a scroll through of the various antagonists, starting with Cinder as their leader and then scrolling out to reveal her various minions. The word "gathering" is sung just as we switch to hurrying Grimm, suggesting that the Grimm are also gathering, which is interesting since the Grimm should be unable to gather together, and perhaps even foreshadows Salem's existence as someone gathering them together intentionally. Then we see Ruby falling from the sky again. This time, however, she looks to the side, seeing the others and knowing that she isn't alone. Just as the song hits the words, "Storm is growing deadly," the characters tip forward, racing toward the ground intentionally as opposed to just falling, indicating that however deadly things are becoming, they're ready and willing to face it head on. We get some pretty epic shots of them coming to Earth, hyping us up for the battles to come. Pyrrha is the last one to come to Earth, and so the focus follows her into a fight scene versus Team Cardinal. And yes, this fight scene does happen in training during the season, but the important part to note is that Team Cardinal's faces and bodies are all smudged out. While they might be the ones that she's technically currently fighting, the fact that they're all blurred away means that the audience's focus stays entirely on Pyrrha herself. Once again, she's back in that Fall Maiden style, but she's still more distinctively drawn than the others with, features and eyes, again capturing the audience's focus. This is the same mode she was in before, clearly, and clearly she's fighting alone, unaided by anyone, which goes back again to her fall maiden future, or rather lack thereof, as she struggles alone with what she has to bear, and ultimately, finally struggles alone against Cinder. Since this time Jean isn't there to support her and snap her out of it. And speaking of Cinder, we transition quickly from Pyrrha to Cinder, as she sits looking up at the ships. Also, incidentally, Pyrrha's fight scene takes place while the word goodbye is sung. Coincidence? I don't think so. Anyway, back to Cinder. Cinder looks up at the ships, and the light is foggy around her. The whole animation is foggy, in fact, back in that what I'm calling the Fall Maiden style. And speaking of the Fall Maiden, as the light pulls backward in the way it does, we see, what? But the light pouring backward off of Cinder's eye, just exactly reminiscent of the way that it pours away from her eye in her form as the Fall Maiden. At this point, as she's looking up at the ships in the now, she already has this one eye's worth of power. And yes, it is the same eye that she has the Maiden's power in after fighting and defeating Amber. So that is to say that at this point, she already has the power. While watching the ships at Beacon, while plotting how to take control of them, she is already in possession of this power, clearly. Which of course we know to be true from the canon, so that by the time Team RWBY comes rushing forward, it's already far too late. And at the same time, the lyrics are the innocence of youth, indicating that their meeting with Cinder is what's going to destroy that innocence for Team RWBY. Then Cinder's minions are there and we get a nice little montage fight scene. Yang versus Mercury, foreshadowing their bout in the next season, while Blake and Ruby are each paired up with the person they fight during this season. And of course Weiss is paired up with Emerald for really no apparent reason, except there's one left on each team, so what the heck, we need a fight scene, right? I mean, it could be foreshadowing something to come later on, but judging by where Emerald's character development seems to be going, I'd say it's not likely. If anything, it makes a little bit of sense just because of their opposing backgrounds, one struggling with poverty and the strain that brings, one struggling with wealth and the strain that brings, but I think it's honestly just more likely that they just needed the two of them to fight someone. Ruby is pushed back by Cinder, indicating that she does not yet have the ability to defeat her opponent, which is very true, but nevertheless comes charging back forward, showing her determination to keep going and that she's not beaten yet, and we get a nice little flip through the four characters, coming to our final title card and the end of the opening. I absolutely love how much setup and foreshadowing Time to Say Goodbye has for the third volume of RWBY, and honestly, that's a lot of what makes this opening my favorite for the franchise so far. So then, I hope you enjoyed this video and this opening analysis. Please let me know if there's anything you think I missed. I'm going to keep working on this series and try to get the next video up within the next week or so. I hope the quality doesn't fall off too much when it comes to my next opening review, when it falls. I'm 100% intentional. And with that, I thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you want to follow along with me in this little series I have going here. Please like and leave a comment letting me know what you think and if you enjoyed this sort of thing. This is Coriander Stone, and I thank you for watching.